Hey everyone, it's Reilly with another all-English episode. So a few weeks ago, I went to Disneyland with my mom and sister and Yuki. And so in this episode, I'm going to be kind of giving a review of my time there. So stay tuned for that. But before that, in a couple weeks, the first one's on November 17th, we're going to be doing our first live event for the year. We're going to Nagoya, Fukuoka, Sendai, Tokyo, Sapporo, and Osaka. So if you live in any of those cities or want to go there to see a live event, you can find the links on my Instagram, Reilly Sullivan XD. It'll be in the highlights of the stories on my bio. And you can go to Eigo no Sota, and he's got a whole bunch of links on his bio as well. So please come out. Really like to talk to you, meet you if I haven't. And that's about it. Let's get into the episode. Okay, so as you guys have heard in previous episodes, my mom and my sister came to Japan for mine and Yuki's kind of wedding party. And for my sister, kind of what can I say? Part of the contract of her coming to Japan, flying all this way to come to the wedding party, was that she wanted to go to Disneyland. So I said, okay, I'll go to Disneyland with you, even though personally I'm kind of a Disney hater. I don't really love Disney movies or Disney characters or kind of any of that stuff. Of course, when I was a kid, I watched Disney movies and listened to Disney music and stuff like that. But nowadays, I don't really. I've been to Disneyland in California and Disney World in Florida when I was a kid. And I liked it back then. But I don't really have any interest in going to Disneyland by myself anymore. But my sister wanted to go, so I thought, okay, fine, let's go. We took a flight to Narita, and then we took kind of stupidly, we got like a late flight that got into Narita, I forget, after 10 or 10:30 or something like that. And there were no trains that could get us all the way to Disneyland, I think, at that point, is how it ended up. And so we ended up getting a taxi, and the taxi was very expensive to go from Narita to Disneyland. So I think we had looked it up online, and online it said it would cost a bit, but still only about 2/3 of what it ended up costing us. But anyway, no big deal. But that was kind of the first thing. And then we get into Disneyland, and we get to our hotel, which is the Hilton Tokyo Bay, which is, I don't know, people who are avid listeners of the podcast might remember that's where Yuki and I stayed, last winter, was it? Or was it 2 winters ago? I don't remember now. But anyway, we stayed there kind of on accident when we were waiting a night to get a flight to America, and we got a hotel, we thought in Tokyo, but it ended up being Tokyo Bay, which is, I guess, kind of a code word for Disneyland in this hotel. Yuki and I had actually stayed there before, but it was nice, the hotel was fine. It was like kind of Disney-ish. There was like Disney playing on the TVs in the lobby or whatever, but for the most part, it was kind of a regular hotel, I'd say. Anyway, then we got there at night, so the next morning, we woke up pretty early. I think I woke up at like 6 a.m., maybe even 5:30, so that we could get ready, have breakfast, and then be in line to get into the park at, I think, when did we get there? I think 7:30 or something like that. We got there at 7:30 and waited in a huge line of people, until the doors, or gates, I guess you would say, until the gates to the park opened. And then they opened, and you get to see Disneyland, and you enter, and it's kind of this like what are they call the area like Mediterranean harbor, right? Yeah, so it kind of looks like a Venice or some kind of Italian town, and it looked really nice actually. The kind of theming at the entrance to Disney. Oh, I think I've been saying Disneyland this whole time. But the park we went to for that one day was Disney Sea, and maybe you got that from the Italian Mediterranean harbor thing. But anyway, yeah, we're actually going to Disney Sea, not Disneyland, because we had heard that it's a little bit more maybe adult focused, not so child focused. And we were 4 adults, so we decided to go there. But anyway, we get in and we go through this kind of I don't want to call it a tunnel, but you go like kind of through a building, one of these Mediterranean Italian buildings. And we looked at the map, and the first thing I say map, but we're using the app on our phones, which for me was the first time using that. I growing up, we always used the fold out maps where you kind of stand to the side and look where you're going. The app was certainly more convenient. But I think my mom didn't have really reliable phone service, so she was kind of hoping she could find a map, but we never did. We didn't look that hard, to be fair. Anyway, next, the first ride we went on was Tower of Terror, which I'd been on in probably both Disney parks in America, but this one is a little bit different. It's themed like a kind of old hotel with a bunch of like artifacts from other countries, other parts of the world. And the line for this, I think, was maybe close to 100 minutes long. It was really, really long, but it wasn't so bad because, while you're waiting in line, you're like going through this kind of garden that has all these statues of like mythical figures, like gods and heroes and monsters from different parts of the world, like India or Greece or maybe Latin America, like Mexico or whatever, and stuff like that. And while you're walking through, you're kind of getting a little bit of a story of who this main character was. I forget his name now, but whoever owns the hotel and goes on these adventures to get these artifacts. And so, like, the line was actually not that bad, even though it was long, because you're kind of entertained by the scenery and like little bits of the story. And then once you actually get into the hotel, there's like paintings of the guy going everywhere. And you find out there's some like African fetish, I think we would call it. Fetish in this case means something different than maybe the normal, the most commonly used meaning. It means like a kind of small statue that is a representation of like a god or a spirit or something like that. And anyway, that thing turned out to be like cursed, and it, makes the elevator haunted or whatever, and makes it go up and down when you get in the ride. But anyway, we got on the kind of elevator ride thing, and it was pretty fun, pretty good. The doors open, and you can see out over the rest of the park and see how high up in the tower you are. It was pretty good, I thought. And so yeah, after that, we went to Fantasy Springs, the new Disney area. My sister is a big fan of Tangled, the Rapunzel Disney movie. So she wanted to go there to see her favorite characters area. And we went on that ride. I forget the name of the Tangled ride, but it was maybe it was like the Lantern Festival, something, I forget. But that one also had a very long wait, I think because of, this Fantasy Sea was new. But the ride itself, I thought, was pretty boring, to be honest. You kind of get in a boat and you ride around, and there's these little life-size, I guess, animatronic characters, Rapunzel and, was his name Finn? I might be misremembering. Whoever the male love interest character is in that movie, and the horse, whatever, Maximus or something like that, I forget. But the animatronics were good. They looked like newer than the ones I remember from when I was a kid. But it was, something like It's a Small World, kind of, where you ride on a boat and you go through these different rooms with different decorations. But there wasn't much more to it than that. So, my sister likes that movie, so she wanted to go on it. But even in the end, even she was like, okay, yeah, the wait was a little bit long for that ride. Ride is a little bit boring. Then what? We wanted to go on something that had like a short wait because we'd been going on, these probably both rides so far were over 90 minutes of waiting. So then we went on Flounder's Flying Fish Coaster in like the Little Mermaid Ariel area. And it was fine. It was kind of like a roller coaster for children, I would say, but it was okay. It was kind of fun. And the line wasn't so long, so that was nice. After that, we walked around a bit. I think we weren't sure exactly what we wanted to do next. Oh no, we had the, I forget what you call it, but you get like basically one ride a day where you can skip the line. You like choose one that you want to get on quickly. So we had chosen the Raging Spirits, the roller coaster in Disney Sea, the one that goes upside down. So we chose that one, and then I forget what time like our, ride was scheduled for. But so we kind of walked around waiting for that time. And then we went on the ride and it was okay. It went upside down. That was kind of exciting, but the rest of it was, still kind of a small roller coaster, I would say, by my standards. Maybe I should say, like, growing up, my dad really liked amusement parks. I mean, I guess my whole family did, but my dad especially liked roller coasters. And so we went to a bunch of different amusement parks around the U.S. I mentioned the Disneylands and I think both Universals. In the U.S., there's a Universal Studio in California and in Florida as well. Kind of both pretty much in the same area as Disney. And we would go to Busch Gardens. We went there a few times. There's two of them as well. We went to the one that's in Virginia. It's kind of like Europe themed, and that's actually one of my favorite theme parks ever. If you are ever, I guess maybe it's not too far from Washington, D.C. If you ever travel to Washington, D.C., I think, and you like, theme parks, amusement parks, I would say Busch Gardens is one of the better ones. But then there's a bunch of more like kind of roller coaster parks that aren't so themed. They don't really have major characters or anything like that. One of the ones that is all over the U.S. is called Six Flags. We would go to Hershey Park, which is based around Hershey's chocolate. And then the biggest roller coaster one is called Cedar Point. That's in Ohio. We went there for like a trip. And Cedar Point has some really cool, really big roller coasters. It's maybe similar to like Fuji-Q in that way. I've never been to Fuji-Q, but it's probably the amusement park I want to go to most in Japan because of the cool big roller coasters. Anyway, so yeah, we went on Raging Spirits. It was fine. And then we went on the Indiana Jones ride. And the Indiana Jones ride was pretty good, I thought. I liked it, but the line was, again, 80 or 90 minutes long, and there's not really much to entertain you, at least when you're outside. Once you get in the kind of temple building, it's a little bit better. But outside, you're kind of just in this, it's kind of, there's trees around and some plants, but that's about it. There's nothing really to look at that's interesting. So yeah, that was pretty boring, to be honest, waiting in line for that one. Then we went and had lunch in that area. We went on some place called like Yucatan Base Camp, I think it was called. And so Yucatan is in Mexico. I think kind of this whole, whatever it's called, ancient river delta or lost river delta, something like that, is kind of based around Mexico or Central America. And so I kind of expected Mexican food, to be honest, but it wasn't really super Mexican. They had it was chicken with some kind of maybe salsa, but it wasn't really salsa, if we're being honest. It was kind of like a tomato-y sauce. But it was fine. The chicken was pretty good. There was rice. The rice was fine. But it was, kind of what can I say, bland, not super flavorful, I would say, especially if it was supposed to be Mexican food. But it was okay. And, not that expensive. I think certainly it was more expensive than you would pay in, outside of Disneyland, Disney Sea. But in America, I remember Disney food being crazy expensive. And this was not so bad. I don't remember the exact price, but I think it was probably around $2,000 or maybe a bit less per person, which I think in America you'd be paying easily $25-30 per person, I think, to go to lunch and be full, I guess, in Disney in America. So it was okay. And then after that, it started getting dark. I say it was lunchtime, but it was probably more around dinner time. It was like 5 o'clock maybe. And by the time we finished eating, it was maybe 5:30 or something like that, and it was getting dark. And so we went to, my sister Janie wanted to go to the Little Mermaid area. I think it was called Triton's Kingdom. It's like, this indoor area. There's like a bunch of kiddie rides, and then there's some kind of attractions, decorations, I guess you can say. And we walked around those for a little bit, and it was kind of cool, like this big indoor area that looks like you're under the sea. But there wasn't a ton for adults to do in there, I think. So just kind of walking around. And then we went to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was pretty similar, I would say, to the Indiana Jones ride, except you're, under the ocean in a kind of submarine. The cool part of that one is we got to like move the light. There's like a little light in the dark parts of the ride, and you can actually like control where your light goes. So that was kind of nice, I guess. It was kind of a cool ride. I remember my dad read me that book, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea book, when I was a kid, and I liked it, so it was kind of nostalgic for me. And then after that, I guess we walked around a bit more. It was starting to get dark, and we walked on there's some bridge in the Mediterranean harbor area, and we watched the show, I guess the night show with like the lights and lasers and whatever. And it was pretty cool. It was fine. I'm not a big Disney music fan, so it didn't do a whole lot for me in that way, but the production value, the lights and everything was cool. So I liked that. My sister was I think more into it. She was singing along to some of the songs and stuff like that. It was nice to see her enjoying it. And then after that, we just did some shopping. I didn't end up getting any souvenirs. I maybe would have gotten like a hat or a t-shirt, but I didn't really see anything that seemed like generic enough. By generic, I mean like I maybe just wanted like a shirt that said Disney, Tokyo Disney or something like that, something kind of simple. But I didn't really see anything. Everything was like had one character on it or one, kind of like theme from some area in the park, and there wasn't anything, at least at the shops that I went to. Maybe we didn't go to the right one. There wasn't anything that just said, Disneyland, and was just like a baseball cap or a t-shirt or something like that. My sister got some stuff, maybe a stuffed animal and some kind of souvenir stuff to bring home to her friends in the States. And then we left and went back to the hotel, probably around, I don't know, might have been 8 at this time after all that. And yeah, I would say in general, my review of Disneyland is that it looks very nice. The theming is very good. But the rides are not really my thing. I guess I like more kind of exciting, scary rides, I guess you could say. Tower of Terror was probably my favorite ride of the day for that reason. And the lines are just too long. Like, I don't think I would wait. I would prefer, I don't know. If I was at another park and there were a lot of rides that had shorter wait lines, like 30 minutes or something, and then there was one that was an hour plus 90 minutes, even if that was the best ride in the park, I probably wouldn't go on it. I would just go on the other ones more, the 30-minute waits. so yeah, the waits were too long. I think, especially because, the rides are whatever, maybe 3 minutes long, and to wait 100 minutes to have fun for 3 minutes, it doesn't really make sense to me. But other than that, the crowds were not so bad that you couldn't walk around. At some points it was, like especially at the entrance when we were coming in, and then and around Fantasy Springs, because I think people were kind of like waiting outside of it for their time. It was really, really crowded. But most of the time you could walk around and it wasn't such a big deal. So I would say, for myself, I probably wouldn't go there again, like just me and Yuki or something like that. We don't have any plans to go back to Disney in the near future, but, maybe way down the line, if we have kids at some point, it would maybe be something good to do with kids, to see the kids happy and enjoying Disney is probably why I would go again as an adult. It did make me think a little bit about USJ. I would maybe consider going there sometime if I have a friend visiting who wants to go, or maybe if like a group of my friends want to go together, where, we could have, I don't know, we could make it more fun. We could maybe drink or something like that in there, so it would be a little bit, the waiting in line part would be a little bit more fun. I don't know. And also I don't know, maybe I have more interest in like the Mario and stuff like that. Harry Potter a little bit, not a ton, to be honest, but yeah, maybe I would like USJ a bit more than Disney. We'll see. Anyway, this one's getting a bit long, so I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. I hope to see you at an event in the next couple of months. Bye.